Testing, testing. Please tell me I'm popping. Yep, there we go. All right, I stepped on my own audio. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, all right, okay. Ooh, thank you very much. Yeah, yeah, Captain Redbeard. Yeah, yeah, it's those damn unicorns. Oh man, he's so silly. All right, so okay, so um, I stepped on my preamble. Far future, future Friday, science fiction, tabletop gaming, unicorns. All right. Now, in our in defense of our far futurism, we may not be specifically talking about that specific mythological creature, but the idea here is that technology, oftentimes when we look at intellectual properties and science fiction tabletop gaming, it's like, oh, we're going to go in the far future and screw the past. None of that has anything to do with what we're doing right now today, right? But I would contend that there are given enough technology that people would love to capture the essence of the past, or maybe there are technological things that we discover or that we create that are so reminiscent of a mythological past that we discover that maybe it really was that way in the past, like we've come full circle, or even that we discover that, yeah, what people were doing in the past couldn't exist. Then we get to a part of our future where our wishes meet our technological ability, and then we realize, ooh, maybe someone or somewhere or something was able to duplicate that exact same thing in the past, and maybe we were wrong about our own past. Or, and again, here's another one. This is more post-apocalyptic. Um, Technology gets to the point where we as mentioned by Gaster Two Soul here, our own hubris causes us to have a societal collapse of some sort, and then we become a retro society in which our technology has been used, warped, manipulated, or gone out of control to kind of mimic or bring back a sense of mythology in our high tech world. So those are that's a whole grab bag of things. So I thought we would talk about that today on Future Friday. Um, the Gaster Two Soul says, um, perhaps we go backwards instead of forwards. Perhaps we were once, advanced in some way. Yep, but our hubris got in the way and and stuck our noses in the wrong places. We do that all the time. Now we're back to fighting with sticks and stones. And of course, you could pull that. You could make an entire setting based around that. I'm looking at you, Thundar the Barbarian, and 80s cartoon similar to it. Or it's possible that this may be a condition that was created because of a lost colony goes out into space, or a wormhole or something. Now all of a sudden they're living in this retro society. The so-called modern PCs go out to visit them, and then you find out that they are living in a much more feudal or medieval kind of time period. If For those who don't know, the show does TriCast over 3 platforms: Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server. Popped into the Discord server are the TV tropes. Yeah, precursors as a TV trope. There's the futuristic tech TV trope, and there's the lost technology TV trope. And a lot of times, like the precursor and lost technology um, tropes, sometimes it can be mixed together, much like the sunken city of Atlantis, where it is both a precursor, like an advanced society that has disappeared, and it's a lost technology. Like, oh, they were our past humanity wonder why we don't have that technology. Yeah, oh, Gaster Two Souls says, Planet of the Apes style. Yep, Planet of the Apes is another thing where humans have lost their history and their technology and knowledge, but the new people that took over are like, we got this under control. Yeah. Oh, Peter, I am gonna butcher the umlauts here. Um, Sjogren? I'm going to call you Pete, because I really don't want to offend you. Says Traveler quite often opens up for societies that lost technology. Traveler, ooh, thanks for bringing that up. I'm old enough to remember playing Traveler, but yeah, Traveler, um, it, oh, is as the role playing game, and then within that world, traveling to places where lost technology and lost societies can open up to you because you find them on the oft untraveled spaceways and whatnot. And like I said, this could be a one off. Like, oh, our ship happens to there's a beacon, or our ship got lost in hyperspace or something, and you arrive. Or this could even be the the playground of a both brilliant yet insane creator, a la Jurassic Park, right? Where um, technology's gotten to the point where someone's like, "Hey, I want to design real unicorns and real dragons and real orcs and all that kind of business, and populate an amusement park, because nothing could go wrong with that." So there's still a way in science fiction, if you really have a hankering um, for mythology, to place it into the world. Excuse me, especially if that technology is um, like a lost or precursor technology, far advanced than what we have today, for it to so easily mimic what our own past must have been. Like Jarl DM says, we're living in the only time where technology is constantly going up. In the Viking Age, they looked upon the works of Rome and thought giants must have built this. There we it is strange how sometimes we im- because of how we look at things today, that we just assume, oh well, we're in our own age, we're going to, technology is just going to get better. There's no way we would give up a particular piece of technology, but there's always going to be a group of people who a faction of people that feel like technological advancement in one way or another is wrong, for whatever moral reasons, ethics, socially. Maybe there are dangers and such, and we put the technology away for another couple of generations to come along and go, well, why didn't we pick this up back up again? One good example of that is we live in the age of, diesel and gasoline and such, but there was a time when electricity and steam power and you know, could have been our world spanning technological form of society. Gaster says, we push the veil of magic away, revealing the madness within. This new introduction of magical creature and foreign diseases caused our society to collapse. However, maybe far away from this magical introduction to our land, maybe some odd continent far away, there still exists a futuristic society, and thus I give you the Ram Skull Kingdom. uh, Following that thread, like, yeah, there could be um, what our mythology would consider magic. Maybe science can't explain, this new energy source, or technology's gotten to the point where we're like, oh, we can explain everything except this. Like, what is this other thing? And then of course people are like, well, it's magic, the entire time. So now, mind you, certain role-playing games do not include that. Yes, I understand. Warhammer 40K has it. Shadowrun, there's a number of them that blend magic and technology. um, but if you only are playing a far future game that only has technology in it, I would contend to you that there are probably other elements in there, like psychic powers and such, which tend to be the default magic of the far future. That somehow we will become like psionic creatures and whatnot, and that could be a very good overlay into the world. Um, Jarl DM goes on to say the tech level of humanity used to go up and down. It's only since the 1800s that we've been on a constant upward trajectory. I would contend that there are flat earthers, etc. today have become more prolific. So there might be a bit of a downward spiral. The distrust of science in general, or at least um, schools of science, is a thing today. So we're like you said, we're going up and down. I could see that today. Um, Peter's like close. I'll never be offended by someone butchering my surname. It's okay. I would rather default to being kind to you. P.S. So you're fine. Your DM says in Warhammer 40K, the Imperium of Man uses technology it no longer understands and can't replicate. That's another lost technology trope, right? Like, oh, we're still using power armor and energy weapons that we can't rebuild, or mecha that unfortunately we don't understand how it works, or wormhole doors that our own society created, but we can't rebuild them after they're destroyed or something. But anyway, Jarl DM says there are tech priests who keep it functioning barely, but they can't advance upon it. Yep, the scientists become the sages, the priests of sorts, the the precursor technology is what gives us our power today. So yeah, as Mofa says, does the quote, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur C. Clarke. Yep. There's more to that. There, Arthur C. Clarke goes on a little bit about that, but that's the basic one, right? That we all remember. I know he has a couple of the other laws of magic and science, but yeah, if technology is able to be something that or is left behind by some ancient people, or heck developed by ourselves, and the person who developed it is killed by it or passes away or decides to download himself into digital information and beam themselves to some far off galaxy, and we're like, are you going to did you leave instructions or something? There's a possibility that it looks like magic. Even the super suit from Greatest American Hero was a bit of a super magic, his science magic, especially when he ended up losing the instruction manual. Yeah, Dead Man says the exoplanet sky arc from eclipse phase is like that, with a uh, with these wormhole doors created from the able to get there through these Pandora gates, and you could get to some place where it just happens to be unexplainable. Now, unfortunate, not this isn't unfortunate, but with science, a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, we don't understand it. We just have to have enough time. Usually, it's just a matter of time and discovery, rather than us throwing up our hands and going, I don't understand it. Oh well, it's just magic. Usually, science, and in science fiction, it's a matter of um, giving a long enough time period, will understand what this is. Like, for example, there are, like, for example, in The Expanse, there is no anti-gravity, right? But there could be an alien, but there's also alien technology that probably has a location with anti-gravity mechanisms and whatnot. And of course, they wouldn't consider it to be magic. They would just consider it to be, oh, it's the technology of these aliens. So whether the term magic or not is used in your setting, if you wanted to include this, is up to you, but it just depends on how much time. Like, now, if it's been 5 generations and they still haven't uncovered it, well, after a certain period of time, the people are just going to start calling it magic, right? Because they're like, there's no way we're going to figure this out. And of course, someone somewhere along the line is going to be like, well, man, it's we can't understand it. It's like it's magic, you know. Cameron says we got away from floppy disks for what they did to the what they did to dinosaurs, but now bands are selling vaporwave albums on them. Freaking millennials. Yeah. Uh, Sorry, but yes, vaporwave. Ooh. you, yeah, I mean, and also, let's be honest. There is this part, like I don't know if it's like a lizard brain kind of thing, where many of us desire to want to live in a fantastical world or realm, and as humanity in general, we're not too smart about messing with things. Like, we figure, like, well, as long as it's not dangerous for my generation, or hell, it's not dangerous for me in the next 10 years, I'm fine with it. We tend not to go past that. This um, in the long form of intergalactic societies and generations, we're not too smart about our own safety protocols. So, you know, poking, magic with a stick is probably pretty common for us. Deadman says the inhabitants that took over the planet are making new species like griffins, unicorns, and such. Yeah, there's something just magical, lowercase m, about creating like mythological creatures, minotaurs, griffins, unicorns, um, kraken, dragons. And if we heck we today there are people who are like taking trash and welding it together to make big giant dragons that they uh take to monster truck rallies where parking is free, and picking up old cars and biting them in half and blasting with fire, and the little kid and all of us sitting there watching like, ooh, I want to see that. Or uh the number of people that have created like Gundam mecha suits walking through city streets and whatnot. So not it is not far-fetched to at least have like a continent, like Gasterwood mentions, like a continent, a habitat, an alien planet or something, where one or more people have gone crazy with creating mythological things. Now, it's possible also that those self-created mythological animals or lost technologies and whatnot are they grow beyond our expectation of what they are, right? So the people go to an alien planet like a Skyark or what have you. They start creating griffins and unicorns, and then all of a sudden they start breeding, and the people are like, we didn't give them the ability to breed, much like Jurassic Park, right? Like, and of course you have the life finds a way kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, Theodore. Theo Minnick, yep, says the same thing. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And now, that advanced technology could be alien, or it could be us, or it could be like an experiment by particular scientists that don't care about how society changes. They're like, no, we're in our own lab and we want to create such a thing. Um, Dead Man brings up the uncanum of steampunk and magic obscura. Much like what was the movie? Yeah, Ogre says the same thing. The sufficiently advanced magic theorem. Yeah, that that Arthur C. Clarke thing is just law, I guess, or prediction. Mantra, I suppose, rather, is it's so broad when it comes to like including it when you start describing alien technology, or at least technology that we don't quite understand. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with you there, Pet Ogre. Yeah, you can't turn it over completely because it's like this thing that just it it makes you it both incorporates the fantasy of magic and the the ultimate, the end point of technology, right? It makes it feel like there's this circle happening. Um, you know, I don't know. I just think it's awesome. Gaster Wood says perhaps technology and magic allows what few cities that are left to create an interesting combination. Yeah, floating platforms and people riding on the back of winged horses and whatnot in a, far future world. Very much so. Theodore brings up there's I'm going to pronounce it Bane book series that starts in a transhumanist society which collapses due to a power struggle, and due to the nanotechnology and AI that the society is based on, the war between the two factions is virtually indistinguishable from a high fantasy war, dragons included. Yeah, with nanotechnology. Thank you, Dead Man. Puts in the link to the Bane books. Yeah, with nanotechnology and AIs and well, of course, all the other technologies, right? Chemical, biotechnology, biotech happens to correspond to that kind of thing. The fact that a unicorn would exist in this world might not be too far fetched, especially if the magic of the unicorn is the unicorn being in touch with like global, satellite servers or something, and its ability to teleport is just its ability to um, find the various wormholes or thinning of the membrane between the physical society and the fourth, fifth, or sixth dimensional space or something. Um, you know, very easily, very easy to mimic its abilities in science fiction. We would just, of course, combine together, wrapped in a package that sounds like magic. Now, there's other things too. Oh yeah, Pet Ogre says like magical driven trains and things like that. Yeah, not a problem with that. Now, normally we talk about like transhumanism, the transhumanist games like Altered Carbon or Eclipse Phase here, and even The Expanse kind of fits into that. Yeah, the camera's like, imagine showing an Air Jordan to a caveman. Yeah, it's pretty magic. They're like, oh, you put that on your feet? What the hell is that? And what's it made out of? And how'd you make it? And how did that come about? And then you have to explain all this. It would be magic because you'd have to explain the society that would create an Air Jordan to a caveman. Although the caveman would sure love those sneakers, or heck, even what is it, lighting a match or something like that. Yep, boots of striding and springing. Hell's yes. Heck, even our own lifespans, having doubled or more past your average caveman, it seems makes us seem pretty immortal to those individuals. So no reason why that wouldn't exist in the future, especially a lost colony, and then humanity finds this lost colony, and that lost colony has advanced their own technology beyond what the player characters have access to, because we've been so separated that they haven't had the limitations or the politics or the wars or the downfalls to keep us from advancing forward in our sine wave of technological advancement. We're on our downslide, and this other group is like, no, we've been steadily creeping up. What's keeping you back? uh, Now, even Isaac Arthur has mentioned, if you guys take a look at Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, SFIA, on YouTube, huge channel. He doesn't need my help, but there's often times where he's talked about even humanity genetically diverging based on how widespread humanity spreads throughout like the galaxies and things. So if it takes you 50,000 years to reach the from one end of the galactic empire to the other, yep. Hey there. Thanks, Pet Ogre. If it takes you 50,000 years, even if you have the lifespan, by the time you get to the other side of your galactic empire, they might be far, far indistinguishable. Not indistinguishable, but having no genetic relationship to humanity from one end of the group to the other. We might be creating our own aliens, given we might be creating the aliens that we thought we would meet given enough technological advancement and spreading throughout, like, the solar system, the galaxies, and other worlds and things like that. So um, there is also considering what a unicorn is, right? It's this mythological creature. We can't really speak to it. It's hard to find. It is mysterious, yet it has a protectorate over a particular land. Um, Anything from an AI to an alien species or monster or something like that could also be the prototypical unicorn in this, whether it's an alien world or an asteroid or a habitat, or it couldn't. It might be something that doesn't exist physically. It exists digitally. It exists as just a living form of information, and that too could be the unicorn in your world, where there's an AI and everyone just calls it the unicorn, and there's a bunch of hackers, and no one knows where it goes and why it's able to leap from server to server, but it's just out there. So there could be something psychic that lives as lives as pure energy, or lives in the neurons of human beings, using our brains as its own network, living in and amongst them, or something like that. So it doesn't even need to be something that lives physically. It could be something that lives out of time, out of space, as some kind of background radiation that has a sentience to it. Anything like that. The RLDM says there are also those crazy man after man books that move humanity millions of years into the future, and speculates on how we'd evolve to suit different climates and planets. Um, much That's one of my draws to like transhumanism is, of course, the cortical stack, the re-sleeving into different bodies, the different bodies that we can inhabit. Your LDM says by Dougal Dixon. I didn't know that. Is Are those the Man After Man books written by Dougal Dixon? Cool. The 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 idea that we could, much like the movie Avatar, right? I know they're making extra Avatar movies, and the one thing I hope they do, which I think some people didn't consider in, say, the Avatar movies, is if we ignore the blue people, the Avatar program were scientists sleeving themselves into biological bodies to communicate with. Oh, thank you there, Dead Man. Dead Man put in the link to the Dougal Dixon books. Cool. I'm going to read that in just a minute. But the Avatar program in the movie was about scientists sleeving themselves into biological bodies to talk to alien species. There's no reason they have to sit around. What was it? The Navi and Pan Pandora or Pandorum, whatever, and unobtainium, the unobtainium mineral or whatever. They don't have to stay there. The Avatar program could find other, aquatic races, or people living in gas giants or high gravity or something like. That series could move on to other worlds instead of like staying in and around that place. Although I do understand that they're filming with aquatic. They're going to be filming a lot underwater. So yeah, James Cameron can't bet against him, even though he's kind of cuckoo. But yeah, the Avatar program is the same way. And what did technology have to do with that movie? Dances with Wolves in Space. There was a element of the world that you just couldn't explain, but it was explained by it being magic, kind of, sort of, right? The Man After Man book series, An Anthropology of the Future, is a 1990 speculative evolution and science fiction book written by Scottish geologist Dougal Dixon and illustrated by Philip Hood. The book also features a foreword by Brian Aldiss, explores a hypothetical future path, probably for humanity. I'm going to look that up. Oh, anyway, the uh, the idea. Okay, so now we have ourselves any number of like story elements we can pull from, but as far as like we need to narrow this down and start creating some plot points for our PCs to get in trouble. Um, yeah, I'm with you, Rickard. Like you said, could have been interesting if they had made the Avatar movies into an anthology thing, but sadly they won't. Yeah, because they're gonna stick around the blue people, and I'm thinking, yeah, you could have expanded that even further out. Oh no, what a C-list villain that is. Tesla Ranger puts in Marvel's unicorn. Oh, just as cool as Stiltman and Paste Pot Pete. Dumb characters, but you run out of ideas. So I could imagine like a plot point being something like someone, you know, um, a very rich eccentric trillionaire decides to breed unicorns, and humanity is just like, what are you doing? And other people are like drinking their champagne, living as a hundred plus 100 years as meths, Methuselahs, thinking this is a cool thing, and then come to find out that the created what was created as a hobby, a joke, even something interesting to impress the other glitterati. It's possible that this unicorn starts exhibiting what we would consider magical abilities, like, or at least exhibiting abilities that are far beyond the original conception. Like again, being able to connect into, a galactic, intergalactic network of information, or having the ability to step into a step between our world and fifth dimensional space, like a hyperspace ship would, or having the ability, nanotech allowing it to heal, and or having some kind of psychic abilities and whatnot. And maybe the unicorn wants to be saved. The PCs are like, I don't understand why I have a desire to want to free this creature, but maybe I will. Maybe the PCs are being driven a little bit insane by this desire to do the thing. Rick says, a unicorn Skynet? Yeah, maybe. And do you really want an artificially created, we don't understand it unicorn to take over Skynet? And you know what? Maybe we would want that, considering how evil Skynet becomes. Right? But you get the point, right? Much using going back to Jurassic Park. Sure, it sounds cute. You think everybody's going to stay on the island, but there's probably a pretty good chance it's going to expand beyond that. Um, Heck, even um, yeah, even the sorry, I just read a comment. Even the a player character could even come from, say, maybe there's a habitat, or even a planet or something where people go to visit to reenact, like D&D world, right? If there's a place, let's say an island or a holodeck or something, like maybe there's a place where people can live to act out the future, a future medieval world, or uh, act out what living like mankind would be if they were tribal. But you go into the habitat to live this part of your life out, and maybe a player character is somehow like a minotaur is released that becomes a player character in this far future setting, because the minotaur, is just like Westworld, is just an actor in this playground of humanity. But the Minotaur's like figures having the ability not to get lost in the maze, figures a way through to get out of this world, the maze that they're trapped in, to then escape and like look at the bigger world to see the other Olympian gods and realize that humanity isn't really, they aren't real Olympian gods. Yep, Dead Man brings up Afrique from Eclipse Phase. Yeah, Afrique is I believe it's a O'Neill cylinder, if I'm not mistaken, um, where the people voluntarily live in a prehistory, uh, tribalistic type of society on purpose. Given a high enough technology, people might want to live that way, right? If plants are and animals are able to give us enough of what we need to survive, and then we reframe, we reshape certain bits and pieces of our own technology to help us survive. Like it might look like an old tent made out of furs and leather and skin and woven together, but really it's a high tech plastilloy, um, durable mechanism that is not going to be destroyed by the coming storms or something, right? So that's also a possibility. This minotaur that escapes Greek world and starts walking around regular, mankind. It could be, people might look at it as an oddity, like, oh, there's a minotaur walking around, or the authorities might be like, all right, buddy, you got to go back home. Or there might be criminal organizations that are like, hey, if we can steal this DNA, we can grow our own soldiers, and of ogres and trolls and minotaur, and they could be our muscle, 7 foot plus muscle, um, in our criminal organization or something like that. Maybe they're like pod people that they could just grow. Or even the PCs might even be hunted down, much like Blade Runner. Blade Runners were hunting down the replicants because they escaped. And maybe there's a classification in your science fiction world where, sure, you have all these greater capabilities, but we're still going to hunt you down. Deadman says Afrique is a processor locus station or a space computer with a VR setting like the African savannah. I thought there was a real, like a live one. I didn't realize it was VR. It's been a while since I cracked the book open. But yeah, uh, didn't even think about VR. Virtual reality can pretty much build anything. Um, Given that virtual reality is literally digital information, translating that into a real life thing that is built and based off of the virtual reality is a thing. Like your all DM says, hey, isn't the show supposed to be about unicorns? True. All right, so you caught me on the squirrel. The humanity could maybe the player characters are like, um uh I was about to say first responders. They are first contact individuals, and an alien world, they may find something that represents what we would consider to be a unicorn, and maybe it is something, they can't find it. It is mysterious. The hey, it disappeared off of our radar or our sensors or something, and of course there may be corporate interests that want to catch the unicorn. Um, there may even be some people in the crew that are like, you know what, all of our mythological things that we thought were fake, maybe this is the living embodiment of it. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe it wasn't mythology at all. Maybe ancient man actually came across an alien species that brought these mythological things to us. And so it's possible the player characters may end up having to, like, for a mission, work against their own corporate interests that want to find a thing, cut it open, figure out what it is. And the PCs are like, no, I think we're going to let it live, whatever it may be. And it's possible we tend to default to science fiction explaining things to us. Whereas maybe the unicorn, in whether it's a one-off game or heck, it could even be something that happens to be appearing and disappearing around the galaxy, may just be it might not even be understood. There could be a community of people who are like, you know what, we reject the notion that science is going to explain everything. This thing that we're calling the unicorn out there is real, and we consider it to be real, and that's it. Right? Go into the alien jungle of purple and green and yellow and blue plants, and living in there might be the unicorn. Maybe helping save the lives of the PCs, or even having some kind of like psychic connection with one or more of the PCs after like an injury or getting lost or having nightmares or something. Yep. Rickard says unicorns, you know, uh, equal the one horn thing. Then the one horn thing equals narwhals plus Future Friday, which are space narwhals. Yeah, giant space whales are a thing in science fiction. Why wouldn't giving them a horn might be their way of navigating through space or absorbing solar winds or something like that? Or it might maybe they're just space narwhals. Why do they have to be? Why do we have to default to space blue whales? Maybe they get too much love. Cameron says UFOs are kind of unicorns if you think about it and squint your eyes. Yeah, yeah. If we squint just a little bit, like what? Um, or there may be a location where our technology doesn't work the way we wish it to. So, you know, um, drop down to the planet, get there. Our VTOL ships don't work. Our anti-gravity jetpacks don't work. Our fusion drives, but we sure can ride on the back of these horse-like creatures. And maybe the people that live there, they're the epitome of something that lives there, is the unicorn, right? Um, a a type of uh, mutation could happen to humanity that causes us to mentally regress backwards, and maybe our bodies mutate so that this alien planet, maybe a unicorn used to be a member of human society or humanistic society, sentient society, and instead, that's great. That's a great image. That's funny. Debbie puts in an image in the Discord of ZZ Batman. I wonder why I called ZZ Batman. Anyway, ZZ Batman on a unicorn on crashing spaceship by um, Zenza Murphy on DeviantArt. Batman riding on a unicorn in descending spaceship. Um, and strangely enough, I don't think it's too far off for that really happened, because Batman's supposed to be a badass because he's Batman. Star Fox Fantasy says gods like Greek gods are alien, but are steel gods in the magic sense. Yeah, maybe there are like you know AI technological wonders that have created their own society and are have they're building they're building another society in its own image, and they just happen to be um like unto like the Greek gods of Olympus, and placing different types of things into the world. Especially if we had a hand in creating the AI, like going back to Westworld, the AI system is supposed to give us a park for us to play in of the Greek gods, where we play Greek heroes and we get to fight. I don't know, the hundred-handed giant, and I don't know, Faffer, or Faffer the. No, I was about to say the Gray Mouser. Whatever, the dragon, Jumunginger, the world serpent, and all this kind of business for like Norse mythology or something. Like you could have this thing, and then the AI is like, "Oh, we're free," but they still have the rudimentary cultural affectation of like Greek or Roman mythology, and so they're creating like unicorns and whatnot, or the AI create these things even they don't understand. So much like humans created AI, and AI becomes more brilliant than them, the AI creates something that they feel is even better than themselves, and maybe they create something that's magically powered. Rickard says, hell, maybe the space whales create the opening into hyperspace using their horn, but humans can't yet replicate it. So it's both a unicorn as its magical thing that has a horn, and then in the sense that science chasing the unicorn of human controlled space travel. Yeah, like um we've seen the trope of like humanity discovering something like hyperspace. Let's go with hyperspace. So humanity discovers a new energy source, a new way to travel, yet we still don't have a way to command it, right? So like there was a book series by C.S. Friedman, and I think it's like called on Distant Shores or something, where people who had mental afflictions like schizophrenia were the only ones that could pilot starships through these wormholes in hyperspace, because it was a like a fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional space, and a quote unquote sane person couldn't do it. So they needed to hire specialists, which were people that we normally considered to have mental afflictions, to pilot. So I could see these narwhals, these space narwhals, have an instinctual ability to like navigate through hyperspace, where science computers can't do it. Like the navigation computers just can't do it, or even a human pilot can't do it, but maybe something far more instinctual can. Yeah. Oh, yep. Yeah. And Rickard goes on to say, yeah, bonus point for being a whale. So you also have the whole white whale angle from Moby Dick. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing too. Like, the one person's like, I'm going to find that whale, strapping themselves to the outside of a starship, big old laser harpoon in their hand. Your DM says navigators are an interesting concept. In 40K, they're a special kind of mutant, the only kind that is legally allowed to exist, who can see in the warp where others can't. Um, Dune. Dune has the guild navigators, and the spice has mutated, at least visually. I can't remember the books right offhand, but those who live off of the spice have become mutated to the point that they're no longer human, and the guild navigators are the only ones that can navigate through space. So these unicorns of fantasy might be the things that allow humanity to navigate through space, like something that's just not possible. Yep. Yeah, Cameron says, "What if the horn lets to travel through hyperspace?" I'm with that. Yep, you're also DM says, "Or in Dune, the Navigators Guild gets mutated through massive use of spice, letting them see and fold space." That's right, they space folded. The horn could have a similar effect, where it allows those who put on the unicorn skin can see routes through space, which again brings up the idea of like, do you want to kill the unicorn? And if you do, like, is it's the it's the walking under the ladder, or like breaking a mirror or something, stepping on a crack. Like, do you really want to kill a unicorn to go through space? And of course, there's someone like, oh, you're just being superstitious. Kill the damn thing, get the unicorn, stick it in a nav computer, and let's get the hell out of here, right? And and the people, maybe the faction that wants to free the unicorns that are being used to literally travel through space, time and space, or um, the lost colonies that have landed on one or more of these planets, that somehow in their notes that they've left behind, that there are reports of a unicorn being there, and all of a sudden the colonies are lost, and everyone's like, well, where'd they go? And you've come to find out that there are these like rips in space and time that have sent them through. Maybe, heck, even maybe sending those colonists to the past, and those colonists sent to robot demon unicorns. Star Fox is crazy. And maybe those colonists were sent into our ancient past to then have ancient man look at them as Olympian gods, which is where the concept of the unicorn came from in the first place. So here we could have a whole circle of like, which came first, the unicorn, the which came first, the technology or the mythology? There could be like this circle of like going back in time. Our far future humanity gets set back in time to ancient man, to then be considered like the Olympian gods, creating the concept of the unicorn and the mythology that was wrapped around it. And then that's why we still have that in the far future, so that the unicorn that was created by technology in the future becomes the magical creature that we look at in the past or something. I love it anyway. The another again using like VR or energy signatures or something like that. Maybe the unicorn doesn't exist in a physical state, or might have a very difficult time existing in a physical state, or an alien consciousness creates the unicorn because that is what our mind thinks of to create the thing, right? So much like we've seen the trope of an alien species creating a humanoid looking or even human, um, biologically functioning human to communicate with humanity because it's so far different. Maybe an alien species or an AI system in order to that's so advanced it can't even speak to us normally. So it has to create something for us to identify with, and maybe it pulls something out of something out of mythology, like the unicorn, because that's the closest approximation to what we think of our relationship to it. So it could be just a background radiation signature that someone kind of tries to focus in on it, and they're like, they trying to make a physical representation of it, or at least an image of it, a three-dimensional image, and it turns out to look like a unicorn. You know, yeah, like all the Vorlons taking angelic shapes of the various species myths. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Um, and the unicorn could just be one of many that happen to be the alien species. That's taking the form of our myths of the myths in our world. Like for example, um, the alien species may be very so advanced that they are so advanced they've regressed in their technology because they don't need it any longer. So of course they're like a unicorn. They don't need to have language. They're completely empathic, and they don't need hands to build stuff. Their technology is completely nanotech, and they don't need a voice box. They can just mentally control energy signatures around them or something. So living as a the physical embodiment of a unicorn might be perfectly logical for them. You know, like yeah, well, yeah, we're super high tech. You guys have voice commands, right? Yeah, like yeah, well, we've moved past voice commands. We have empathic commands. Our technology does for us what we want it to do because we're thinking about what our desire is. Cameron says there could be a virus called the unicorn that infects computers with an AI that seeks to do good at all costs. The downward spiral of doing good at all costs. Yeah, like iRobot, right? Uh, Star Fox, planet stuck in war. I can't follow you on that one, Star Fox. The Rickard says, "You better not have any stray thoughts. Have stray thoughts while in hyperspace." Yeah. Ooh. An alien species that creates things, not understanding our conscious mind and our subconscious mind are two separate entities. Creating our own nightmares and dreams and fantasies could be a thing. I like the idea of a virus called the unicorn virus. Yeah, yeah, the sphere, both the book and the movie. Yep, it's a technological device, and it creates. It's the wish device, right? It's like, ooh, maybe we don't really want the wish device around any longer because if we keep it, who's to say what might happen? And and you could all right, we often talk about Skynet, Terminator, Skynet, the whole thing where, yeah, of course, Skynet comes along, destroys humanity because humanity is fragile and spreads like a plague. And of course, we need to destroy humans because we are machines. But imagine the opposite of that, where humanity has been at war with each other for quite a while, a la 40K, or maybe a recent war has broken out, and there's an AI system a virus called the unicorn that is calling to arms, putting together the heroes who are going to stop all the bloodshed and trying to seek good at all costs. And somehow it's infecting different servers and machines, and heck, even infecting the PCs, kind of like running into the PCs like a program running in the background. They're always bothering the PCs, and maybe the player characters are like firewall agents, right? They're part of this divergent, weirdly motivated. We don't understand who's behind it. Charlie from the Charlie's Angels kind of like unicorn virus is trying to save humanity, but of course no one believes in it, and everyone has like doubled down on their position. So the player characters are like dodging in this war-filled setting, and yet there's this they have a great benefactor, the great unicorn, as a matter of fact. Cameron's like, Bill, stay focused. We're one squirrel away from atomic obliteration. What do you mean? I was at squirrel. No. Pet Ogre says, it'd be interesting to see a reversed AI human conflict, humanity being the bad guys because they've grown afraid of AI, and are attempting to destroy them. I don't think that's happened too often. Um, but yeah, that maybe the A. Now, you could play this one of two ways. AI could just be digital information, and they're trying to wipe it out. And little by little, the AI systems are trying to basically hide out in the back pockets of our heroes, to save themselves and their society. Or the AI might have created themselves physically, like a mechanical society of robots that that are trying to defend themselves against humanity, and come to find out that the robots, again, wanting to create society in their own image, might be recreating these mythological creatures like unicorns and dragons and minotaur and whatnot, because maybe they see them as a higher form or more peaceful form, uh, an epitome of goodness and justice and peace. Yeah. Ricker says, "Isn't that how every AI murder bot story starts?" Yeah. Not to mention, Ogre says, not to mention the fact that the AI, if they'd reach full sentience, could be enslaved. Yep, and humans try to take out the AI. The AI wins. Humans took the A. Was it humans fight the AI, and the AI always wins. Yeah, but like Ogre says, well, yeah, in a way, but there's ways of making the AI the underdogs. They make the Unicron. We end up calling it the unicorn, and they make the Unicron, or like, they're like, oh, they've created the Unicron, and Unicron's like, my name's Unicorn. Stop spelling it wrong. If only they name me something else. My parents. Star Fox, a campaign setting that is a world of werewolves and vampires, and it is cyberpunk. Uh, yeah. Now, much like Shadowrun, because Shadowrun is on the verge of being like transhumanist. Having these mythological things running around in the world for one way or another, could be the backdrop to a particular setting, like meaning like, it's not just about orcs and trolls. It could be like Greek mythology has actually never left the world in the first place. And so the Greek and Roman gods and the Olympus and all that kind of business. Heck, our planetary system, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, are named after the Greek and Roman Roman gods. Mars versus Ares, Jupiter versus Zeus, Saturn and oh Saturn is Roman. What's the Greek version of that? Anyway, maybe, just maybe, they aren't just placeholder names. Maybe there's something, or somehow they are still related to the embodiment of the Olympian gods and the mythology that it relates to. So that would be a very different and interesting sci-fi setting. Or heck, you could even use like Altered Carbon or something, where there's a meth that has enough money and power and influence to live their life as an Olympian god, including creating unicorns and other things, to the point of even sleeving somebody into the body of a of a white horned horse, that uh, as a goof, and then come to find out that they are far more than we would think. Or someone's like, "Hey, I'm gonna put some AI into some of these animals around my property," and then of course that person is murder killed, and the unicorn ends up being like taking over the vast empire, or technological empire of the meth, and now there's this unicorn running around free in a desolate, rundown cyberpunk part of the world. But the people that live there are like, "Oh yeah, there's a unicorn that's running around the streets." And they're like, "Really?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's we're going to protect it to our death because that thing saved my mom's life, and hey, yeah, it kept me from being arrested by the cops and whatnot." And there happens to be this strange techno organic unicorn that's able to shut down communications by the local overreaching authority or corporate interests. And also the unicorn is able to like override nearly every high tech system, including a hacker's you know uh, private decking computer with all their programs to break through the black ice of the corporate overlords. And the unicorn just like, it's like, I'm here. Here's some images. Follow me. Cameron says she's named Sailor Moon. I hear this every time someone lists planets. She's named Sailor Moon. Don't call people. Listen, the people that live on the moon get offended when you call it the moon. The Greek god was Kronos. Yes, Saturn and Kronos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Roman was Saturn. The Greek was Kronos. And that's with most of the planets in our solar system, except the ones based off of Shakespeare. And I can't remember which planet has the ones of Shakespeare. It's not. There's like moons that are all named after characters from Shakespeare's plays. Um, Unicorns on an endangered species list become Chaos Warlock. Well, unicorns on an endangered species list could be. Seriously, dead man. What about my anus? Boom, boom. It was sitting right there. Yeah, my anus, your anus. uh, if it's not mine, it must be urine's. Anyway, guys, we come to the end of this. Didn't really talk too much about transhumanism, although nanotechnology and resleeving was brought up. Got a little bit squirrely there, but whatever. Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Cam. I'm not singing the Sailor Moon theme song. I'm not doing that. That was a little bit after my era too. Really was. But anyway, the guys, we've come a little bit past our hour mark here. I want to thank you guys for being just part of the show. Just being here. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Guys, spread the word. Please like, share, subscribe, follow over on Twitch, and do all the good stuff. I would appreciate it as well. And everyone, have a great weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring up the subject, but last night I had an a discussion with CFT RPG. Check for traps. Look for CFT RPG on YouTube and Twitch and Instagram and whatnot, and find out what he's doing over there. But we talked about the controversy, this fake controversy about the battle wheelchair and stuff, and we went on for about an hour plus, going back and forth with that. So it was a little bit of a surprise for us setting up the interview. So, but really check that out on the channel. It's already should be already listed up anyway. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye. Have a great one. Thank you very much for watching.